believe since I was younger that it is important to, to reduce the use of single-use plastics, and my call to action is to take a moment to consider, if you don't already, what ways you can reduce your use of single-use plastics. And over the next few moments, I want to share a personal story about that helped me realize the importance, some research that backs it up, as well as some ways that you can reduce the use of single-use plastics. First, I want to share my personal story, which is when I was younger, I watched a personal story that explains why I feel it is important to reduce the use of single-use plastics. When I was younger, I watched a nature documentary that talked about how plastic gets single-use plastics are have become a major problem in our oceans, and they can get into the stomachs of sea creatures like sea turtles, and they can also get snagged on fish, and it's a very prevalent problem that needs to be that I think needs to be resolved. And I, I'm credible on this because I've done my research, and I believe that it's a very important thing to reduce the use of single use plastics if we want to try to reduce. Next, I want to talk about some research I have into to help to prove the importance of reducing the use of single use plastics. Single use plastic pollution accounts for 85% of the total pollution in our oceans. And there are many U.S. government agencies that want to reduce this to reduce this amount. And I agree with agencies like U.S. Fish and Wildlife and other agencies have enacted policies that will help to reduce the use of single-use plastics. A recent study has shown that there are between 75 to 199 million tons of plastic in the ocean, and in the next few years this could double, and there could be, well, many more tons released into, or dropped into the ocean year after year. And I now want to talk about some ways that you can reduce your use of single-use plastics. One of the ways you can reduce your use of single-use plastic is to switch to products made from reusable materials. Or even if you keep using plastics that are single-use, at least try to make that like the to recycle them and use them as something else. Which that is very important, because if more people will start to use single use plastics as something else when possible, then that'll lessen the amount of plastic that gets trapped into, well, that ends up in the ocean, hurting and killing our the world's wildlife. Which I think it's very sad that plastic is that there's so much plastic in the ocean that wildlife is under a serious threat. In conclusion, I hope I've my speech has in conclusion, I hope my speech has given you an understanding of how important it can be, or it is, to reduce the use of single-use plastics. so we can have a better future and better and the oceans can maybe recover, can hopefully recover.